And I embrace a child who would like to be trans. That's their choice. If they're LGBT gay, they have that choice.
The Florida Legislature wrapped up a 60-day session that's hard to explain, but easy to describe.
It's time now for 60 Days of Stupid.
They banned transgender women from women's sports and the claim that women who are born and remain female could be injured competing against them, not contemplating the fact that they would still be competing against them when playing other teams.
There are currently some transgender girls playing on women's basketball teams in Division I. So what happens when that team travels to play UF?
Then I would guess that team may have an unfair advantage.
Is there some kind of punishment for UF for hosting a transgender girl?
I don't think the bill contemplates the other team's makeup.
Didn't contemplate. They also restricted the use of drop boxes for mail-in ballots and ordered every election office to staff those drop boxes when they are in use, leaving anyone who may be up to trouble here to just drop them off in the mail instead.
I've got to have somebody here to guard this box, but you can go drop it into, your mailbox and then any mailbox out there, and nobody's staffing that and looking at that. And it's going through way more hands than if you drop it at my office.
And they tried to ban people from offering water to voters standing in long lines in a bill sponsored by Senator Dennis Baxley, shown here being offered water in the air-conditioned chamber at his cushioned seat.
Let's don't wait until we have a debacle to make sure we've got this thing orderly.
Though the last election was orderly before they passed the flurry of new voter restrictions that election supervisors from both parties oppose.
So I said we did have a great election, but why should we be satisfied there?
Because great means remarkably effective and markedly superior in quality, and that's what we'd like to repeat.
I think of the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Tampa Bay Bucks that won a Super Bowl and won the World Cup.
They won the Stanley Cup, yes.
Do you think they're just satisfied?
Yes.
Do you think they're going to come back next year and say, we're going to do it exactly the same?
We're going to stick with yes.
Exactly the same.
Hold on, let me think.
They beat us pretty good.
Yes.
What we're worried about is the fraudulent votes,
which we cannot find any widespread evidence of in public polling sites, but have found in the legislature itself. Year after year, we've seen the lawmakers pushing other lawmakers' voting buttons without their knowledge to pass the laws of the land. Former lawmakers like Mike Fasano say they've seen it.
More than 100 times, I would imagine.
Votes without permission.
Yes. I, in fact, saw a non-member hit someone's button. And I thought, oh my gosh, has it gotten that bad?
In a prior session, look at this, we caught the current Senate Budget Chief, Kelly Stargel, voting for her colleague, making it look as if she was still at work.
I can understand how they may say that it looks sloppy.
When Stargel's colleague was actually on the other side of the state telling us work let out early.
The business of the Senate concluded early today.
The same Florida lawmakers who worry about the security of mail ballots that have a paper trail, signature matching process, and no evidence of widespread abuse don't bat an eye at their own lax system of allowing lawmakers to cast votes in other lawmakers' names who are not at their desk, assuming that they are at work and give permission to do it, which we've seen they don't always do. They also raided money set aside by law for affordable housing to spend on who knows what for years, and then responded to the criticism this year by diverting much of the money before it even gets into the fund, and then commended themselves for no longer technically raiding it.
We are putting in state statute that fund can no longer be raided.
Along the way, they also passed the most striking changes in Florida's auto insurance system in 50 years. While their own analysis shows they cannot determine how it will affect policyholders, health insurance, injured drivers, or state and local governments. They passed it on logic best described by Senator Doug Broxson.
I'm very concerned about it. I believe that it has some negative potential, but I'm willing to vote for it.
That could be their motto this year. A legislature dominated by conservatives took risks that defy the very definitions of what it means to be conservative. A legislature dominated by Republicans did stuff that Reagan himself may not recognize as very Republican, from a $1 billion increase in sales tax collections and record escalation of government spending, to a massive expansion of gambling and sweeping unprecedented new regulations on the tech industry.
This is a big government bill. This is a bill you would see in countries that we don't want to talk about. Some that are 90 miles south of here, some that are a little farther south. And it makes you uncomfortable, and it makes me uncomfortable that I have to have this conversation.
The times here have changed, and more than many may know.
Now, this is real life 2001, not the fictitious 1984.
We don't exactly know what the governor means by saying we're living in the year 2001.
Now, this is real life 2001.
He could mean that instead of Orwell's dystopian vision of 1984, we're actually living in Arthur C. Clarke's 2001 Space Odyssey, in which computers malfunction, depriving people of the support they need to live while the people in charge are lost in space. Or he may just have his years mixed up. Either way, to see which way this story is going, look beyond the controversial bills they just passed to the other bills they tried to pass, like the one to give the legislature power to defund Bright Future scholarships. Remember how they tried to ban ballot drop boxes altogether and ordered genital inspections for some student athletes, which they dropped as a point of compromise.
Not inspecting children's genitals is not a compromise. The idea that we were doing it in the first place is absolutely insane.
Those could be coming attractions in the coming rounds of money, power, and politics.